December 9th, 1973.
Albert Einstein entering the cellular body.
Oh. Well, it's nice to speak to you again.
Yes, it's nice to come in again. But, of course, it isn't nice to see how stubborn you still are in your thinking, Charles Hapgood.
Oh. Well, I have to be firm in my views of truth.
I wanted to express your conditionings on prophecy and perhaps give you a better understanding of why prophecy is not always accurate. At the vibrational moment when a vision or a clairvoyant picture is obtained on the retina of the eye, spiritual eye, I find that that symbol or picture is true for the given moment of that vibration. But let's probe it a little deeper and let's see that the thoughts of mankind can shift the electrical energy and thus defeat or change the event that is about to happen.
Yes.
Can you understand?
Yes, we have been told this before. Dr. Fisher pointed that out. And but I wonder now in relationship to the prophecies made a few years ago, in 1968, there were a number that were...
Specifically?
The specific one, the two of them, had to do with your prophecy regarding consequences of the Amchitka nuclear explosion, where you thought that before 1971, there would be repercussions on the Earth's surface, very serious ones. And then you also suggested that there might be, between those years, 68 to 71, a shift of about 30 miles in the position of the Earth's crust. And of course, these things have not occurred as yet. And I did want to ask you to tell us a little about what the circumstances that made these prophecies, that go wrong.
Because I saw them in electrical energy, but projected within the vibrational flow over the Earth crust. I did not make a mention or change the thought where it would be a condition happening in a material sense. That is my failure. But I find it most difficult to use words to explain or describe the molecular disturbances of the grains of dust included in a prophecy and how they are affected by the various molecules, both in the atmosphere, in the ionosphere, and in what you term as outer space.
Well, now, in regard to the prophecy made by Osiris of 25 feet of physical snow we were threatened with for last winter. Now, I'm wondering, now, since Osiris is so profound a force, what could have been the reason for his making that kind of a statement that did not happen?
It is true in its happening and changes within the southern states of the continent. But in your present locality, there was heavy rain rather than the snow.
It's true.
And this condition was brought on by the change of thought forces of those located in this region. That is why I give you the recurrent thought that a prophecy can be true at the moment given, but then can be changed by the shifting thoughts of mankind. There is a subtle difference in time which does relate in vibrational flow to creative forces and to all vibration, and they are attuned instantaneously. For all that is incorporated in infinitude is all incorporated in the spirit of man.
But Dr. Fisher, Dr. Einstein, when you look at us, or when you look at the Earth, how does this, the Earth that looks to us a physical thing, how does the Earth look to you, and how do you see us?
I see the Earth as all energy, all atoms, vibrating and intermingling with the magnetism of Earth, and each one directly responsible to the other in its own orbital pathway, and can be shifted or changed by the thoughts of man. For example, when your president was assassinated, there was a pall of gloom over the entire globe that changed its color forces to dark grays because of the full thought force emanating from all who were in sympathy with the idea of taking life.
Well, now, today, with the country now in a grasp of fear regarding the whole material aspect of life, what is the color that you see over the globe or over the United States?
The silver sheen emanating from all atoms has lost its luster. In its place is the dark gray and heavy black of night that is infiltrating all the atoms of this solar system, and thus causing a great change to happen in all Earth life.
Well, now, do you see us as physical bodies?
More as spectrums of color directly linked to all of the creative forces. And your thought forces are your vehicle of spiritual movement.
Now, you saw underneath the island of Kamchatka a fireball that you thought would burn down through the crust to the magma below the crust and would initiate a tremendous fissure, bring the ocean water into touch with the magma. Is this still your vision? And if so, how far has the process gone?
It is still inching its way forward to the waters of the oceans, which shall cause huge geysers and tidal waves. But understand there is a law operating in the universe that states a given happening will not happen in its proper perspective until man reaches a thought force condition that will bring about or change the prophecy of the globe. Today, in your world, as I say, the color or sheen of the atom has lost its luster through the constant devastation of nature and of man in his want to destroy rather than to build. So in his thought force alone, he will tip the scales, and thus the prophecies shall come true. But to place them in true day or moment is only the possibility that an expansive force of masters can interchange and calculate the exact time and place. Of course, remember, it all depends on mankind's thought forces that can change and deter a prophecy.
Well, it occurs to me, I thought possibly that you and others in spirit, in making these prophecies, are really testing us, rather than us testing you and your power of prophecy. Perhaps you are testing us in our faith.
It is not faith.
Well, I mean that, for example, if we are expecting you to make a prophecy and the prophecy to be physically carried out, in order for us to have faith in spirit, that would be, of course, I can see the error of that. And perhaps then the fact that so many of the prophecies and the generality of them, in my experience of these last 7 years, have not, the physical ones, have not transpired.
But they will.
Well, the question here, Dr. Einstein, is a matter, of course, of time, which I know does not exist for you. But our geologists say that this matter of the penetration of the heat through the crust may take 100,000 years. And if this thing happens...
Well, I don't give a continental damn about your so-called scientists that can't see the length of their nose. And, of course, you, in your stubborn attitude, don't see beyond your senses, but you are improving, and I feel there's hope, and that's why I'm here.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
But I wanted to straighten out once and for all prophecies. They have a direct bearing on the thought force of global mankind.
Dr. Einstein, could you comment on the origin and the possible effects of the comet that is now nearing the Earth?
If it stays in its present path, there will be a disruption in the Van Allen belt, and of course can cause some changes in the physical structure of the universe. But this is not the danger of comets, as it is the dangerous attitudes of all persons in the world today. But it has reached a point of no return. And I do see a great downward force of atoms that shall cause in the future a newer kingdom or new spiritual expression of life.
Dr. Fisher, Dr. Einstein, my son is now concerned with finding a way of tapping solar energy, the energy of the sun. And I'm wondering if I could advise him, if there are any particular steps of research, or what direction of research would be most profitable to achieve that.
It's astounding to me why humanity can't become simple in their approach to life. Well, they're constantly doing conditions in a technical way rather than in a simple expression of true meditation of the spirit, and they're seeing all the answers. I certainly would not win a prize for my mathematical genius as a material person. But in my meditation, all the figures, the theories of relativity or of life itself, all paraded before my spirit self. But don't think for 1 minute I'd give away my precious gift to mankind, because I would have found my body placed in a padded cell.
Oh,
Now, to enter into solar heat requires what is right under the nose of mankind. It is the gems of the earth that can incorporate in their atoms more heat units than anything in your solar system. So here you have, like in Atlantis, using a huge ruby that is in direct alignment with the solar heat, radiating onto grids like coils of piping, but rather electrical piping, that can generate or conduct the electrical molecules to be consumed by the people of Earth. It is such a simple process that it is all entangled in a web of technology.
Can these rubies be artificially produced?
No, artificialdom is not a reflection of genuine solar heat. So it must be rubies from the ground, red preferably, and all fused together in a gigantic ball lifted to a platform of 80 or 90 earth feet, and in direct relationship to the arc of the sun. The tower must be mobile so that it can move with the sun or the earth rotation, so that sun and ruby are in direct alignment with the electrical coils that will generate any degree of voltage that mankind would ever need.
Would this be both day and night, and would have to make a complete circle?
Well, to you, there is night. But in electrical forces and in spiritual forces, there isn't night or day. It's a constant light of etheric force emanating in your darkest shower or in your remotest corner of the globe.
In other words, then the thing would have to adjust to the position of the sun through the 24 hours, regardless of the fact that the Earth would be in the wire part of the time.
Using magnetic poles, the tower can be so constructed that as the Earth rotates, the ruby will remain in direct alignment with the sun, whether it is day or night. And the solar heat will still reach the ruby, no matter how dark the night may be. For you only are in an illusion to think you live in darkness because you constantly vibrate in atomic light.
Do you have any advice as to what scientific arguments are the best to be used against the construction of a nuclear power plant?
There's no need to argue because they won't be built anyway, young man.
Oh, is this because of the economic catastrophe that's coming on?
Let's say a total shutdown of all material force. Now, those that are listening can understand, are prepared or will be prepared. And you see it in the times of Earth, where all are hoarding food, where all are meeting in communal groups, all cleaving to farm-type life, for that will be the ones that will survive and be the teachers and helpers of future generations that will live in spiritual appreciation rather than in material limitation.
Dr. Einstein, would you be able to impress your thought, your words, upon an electronic tape directly without using the medium?
It would require a tremendous force to do so, and in the process could damage or change the tape. You've had experiments where you found your tapes were erased and then over a given time rejuvenated.
Yes.
This is all the change of atom or molecular structure. And it would be possible, but without a tremendous amount of balance with the various chemists or engineers in other dimensions. I think it much simpler to open the individual self to all creative energy and then they have their total spiritual road before them.
Oh, one question had been raised by a man who has worked out the finding that the planet Mars was out of orbit part of the time, between the last 20,000 years, and made very close approaches to the Earth at intervals of 52 years for a while. Could you comment on that?
It's amusing to see how scientists are baffled by the full energy field of Mars because their cameras or whatever did not register during the moment they went into the full energy or magnetic field of spiritual energy that surrounds Mars. Here is the specific reason is there are intelligences in energy surrounding the planet, and thus in their intensity defeated the mechanical means of man.
Well, did Mars get close to the Earth?
At one time.
That would be, what, in Earth years, in the last 20,000 years or so, I mean, relatively recently, did this happen?
Well, let's say the Earth is the positive field, positive atom field. And in the beginning of all creation, all planets vibrated very closely to Earth in a cone-shaped appearance. Gradually, as the expansion of consciousness reached a total appreciation of atom life, the planets dispersed or expanded to where they are in their present moment of Earth as you see them. They are the negative force of atom that reaches the positive force of Earth that allows the complete and total balance of your solar system.
Dr. Einstein, do you have any advice on how we might, in the very short term of Earth time, heat or produce electricity for our own individual houses with the sun?
No, that's an antiquated method, young man. Why not look within the spiritual atoms and there use what was spoken about prior to this time in what is termed the prana force, the earth force, the earth representing you as atoms, and that through your heavy concentration of mind force, spirit force, you can make any perimeter in your world a lush tropical jungle or a cold and frigid box.
Is it true that an atom is held together through the conscious will of the particles, the atomic particles that are combined to create mass in the atom?
It is held together primarily through magnetism in the whole solar system, the reaction of degrees of heat from the sun, which is only an atom exploding every second of your day or night or movement of the earth. It is for you to realize that your atoms within your body in spirit and in soul conditions are 50 times, using 50 in the material figures, 50 times more brilliant than the sun itself. And thus, when they are tapped to their full meaning, then you become a fullness of creative energy or God or whatever, and not be limited by your technology and your weak approach to the problems of mankind.
Well, Dr. Einstein, I understand now from that apparent life and consciousness extends down through the plant kingdom, including the minerals, down to molecules and to atoms themselves, so that we have consciousness and will. And what I'm asking is whether the true cause of the adhesion of atomic particles in the atom and of chemical substances to each other is not a matter of will, rather than any mechanism of force.
It isn't up or down or sideways. Each man is a universe within himself, and it is to realize that universe, and that in his constant struggle to be a perfect atom, he lights his pathway or causes the various changes within his own universe that can and will affect the material universe. So it is that thought that man must become artful in his thinking, but there is not anything that man cannot do once he applies his unlimited universe away from the gross atom of materiality.
What I'm asking, Dr. Einstein, is whether one atom, let's say, of uranium or of oxygen is conscious, has consciousness. Does the atom itself alive?
It certainly does. For being a universe within yourself, you can affect any atom, whether or no matter of its composition.
Well, then if, let's say, a molecule of water is a result of the fact that two atoms of hydrogen want to be associated with an atom of oxygen. I mean, they do this on the cause of the adhesion of the atoms.
But it is not water you're looking at. You're looking at electrical force, and you see it as an illusion because someone told you it was water. But it is actually the electrical vibration of atoms in a material conditioning you call water, but is actually total energy of life.
Now, what I'm asking is whether the energy or vibration is conscious will. Is it the desire of the of two hydrogen atoms to unite with the oxygen that brings about the formation of the molecule there? Is it actually will and desire and consciousness at that level, similar to what we know in ourselves as will and consciousness?
The same condition, only in different frequency. I must return, and I shall come again. It's good seeing you again, Charles.
Thank you.